I don't know if guys have noticed this, like a lot of ladies drink water at parties. They just, so you have, if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave.
Right.
Gotta keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but
yeah.
Rock with me, but just
right.
Happy birthday, Beyonce!
Hey, welcome to the family, John.
Man, I ain't gonna lie. I've been holding a lot in lately.
So, just when we thought the Diddy case couldn't get any worse, Diddy allegedly finally came clean about the number of victims he graped at those freak-off sessions. I'm sure by now you've all heard about Diddy's recent arrest and the wild allegations surrounding him, but it turns out this is even worse than we thought. We're talking about trafficking, secret tapes, forced intimate encounters, and some seriously disturbing admissions that are finally coming to light. So buckle up because it's about to get dark.
Sometimes you gotta let it out. Just saying to everybody out there, men, women, and child, you know what I'm saying, don't be leaving nothing bottled up, you know what I'm saying?
Alright, so most of you probably remember when Cassie dropped that bombshell lawsuit in late 2023, accusing Diddy of years of DV, control, and say. Cassie's lawsuit wasn't just your typical he said she said situation. She laid out detailed accounts of what allegedly went down during her time with Diddy, and it included some seriously disturbing stuff like being forced into situations she didn't consent to with male workers, being recorded without her consent, and a whole bunch of other sickening things.
What? What you gotta say now? What you gotta say now? You ain't got to say.
Now, when the news first broke, Diddy was quick to deny everything, releasing a statement saying the allegations were false and calling it a money grab. But things spiraled fast after that. The lawsuit triggered a deeper investigation, and before Diddy knew it, he was facing serious criminal charges. On September 16th, after almost a year of speculation and rumors, Diddy was officially arrested and charged with RICO crimes, including trafficking and transportation of people for the purposes of.
Right there, ABC News has just confirmed that Sean Diddy Combs was arrested tonight in New York City. Sources say federal agents with Homeland Security investigations took him into custody.
And this wasn't just some random lawsuit anymore. This was a federal investigation, and why all know when the feds get involved, it's serious. Diddy is being accused of transporting women across state lines and internationally, hosting what he called freak-off parties, plying his victims with different substances, and then coercing them into depraved situations they didn't consent to. But here's the kicker, there weren't just one or two victims. The number of individuals coming forward has allegedly grown into the dozens, and that's just what we know so far. Diddy is currently locked up in a pre-trial detention center, and while he's desperately trying to cling to the I'm innocent narrative, insiders from the courtroom are spilling some serious tea. Word on the street is that Diddy's legal team has had to admit that there are multiple victims involved. At first, Diddy's lawyer, Mark A.G.N., insisted that Cassie was the only victim and even tried to minimize what happened to her by claiming that hotel surveillance footage of Diddy and Cassie was just your regular lover's quarrel. He even tried to victim blame, claiming that Cassie hit Diddy first because she found out he was seeing other women.
The prosecutors are seizing on something that happened 8 years ago. You know, this video that we've all seen, and it's a bad video for Mr. Combs, and he said so himself when he gave his apology. This is 8 years ago, and the prosecutors are talking about him bribing a hotel security worker. There was no criminal investigation. This was just a matter of personal embarrassment because he and the person in the video were in the midst of a 10-year relationship. That was difficult at times, that was toxic at times, but it was mutually so. And this whole notion that Mr. Combs is forcing on someone is just nonsensical, and it's going to prove to not be true.
Well, on that video, he initially denied the allegations when his then girlfriend, who was in that video, filed a lawsuit last fall. And we have that video. I should note, CNN was the first outlet to exclusively report on it. He denied that happened when she filed it in a complaint. And then When the video came out is when he apologized for it.
So I wasn't his lawyer back then, so I don't, and I don't think he denied. I mean, I think the lawyers were the ones mostly making the denials. I think they were denying sex crimes. I mean, because at the end of the day, the gravamen of that civil complaint wasn't a misdemeanor assault, which is what you see on that video. Not minimizing it, but it's a misdemeanor.
But it gets worse. In another interview, this same lawyer tried to justify Diddy putting his hands on Cassie by saying she was also unfaithful during their relationship. Diddy's lawyer said, these two people were in love. Victim 1 ended up marrying the trainer that Mr. Combs got for her. They had been cheating on each other for years, but now she had 2 kids with the trainer. Years later, she realized she had a good thing with Mr. Combs. Now, lawyers are going to lawyer, but to publicly blame a victim and minimize her trauma when we all saw what Diddy did to Cassie in that hotel, this is just diabolical. But what else to expect from someone who agreed to defend Diddy? Now, when it comes to the number of victims, there are reportedly over 30 women who are currently talking to the feds and sharing similar tales of mistreatment, manipulation, and coercion. While the media might still be piecing together the details, word on the street is that Diddy's team has quietly admitted that at least some of the allegations are hitting close to home, and that Diddy's lawyer lied when he claimed there's only one victim. But it gets even darker. There's mounting speculation that Diddy's crimes are possibly linked to a much larger trafficking ring involving some big names in the music and entertainment scene, and the rumors swirling around these events are downright disturbing. We're talking illicit substances, young victims below the age, and a parade of powerful men all supposedly mixing it up. When you throw all those elements together, it's not hard to imagine some seriously dark stuff happening behind the scenes.
It's a big ass bed. Party on the bed. Hey, mama said don't jump on the bed. We jumping.
And according to sources close to the investigation, the FBI has been working on building a case against Diddy for years. We're talking wiretaps, video evidence, and confidential witnesses who are laying down a serious case against him. Even if half of this tea spills out, we might be staring down the barrel of the biggest scandal to rock the music industry since well forever. Now, let's talk about the victims. While Diddy has tried to dismiss the allegations as false, more and more women and men are coming forward with their own stories. What's even more disturbing is that there may be some very young victims out there.
My name's Ava. I'm a Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Ava Combs.
What's your other last name?
Ava Barone.
Eva Barone Combs? Yes, it's breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you. But you still have beautiful parents but you're my child also. But please tell the story.
So, I was on the streets, and then Papa Combs decided that he would like to be a caring man. So then he saw me and decided to pick me up and said to come inside and play with.
So according to the latest reports, one woman, who has chosen to remain anonymous for fear of retaliation, detailed how she was allegedly lured to one of Diddy's infamous parties under the promise of networking with industry bigwigs. Instead, she claims she had her drink spiked and was raped by multiple men while Diddy recorded the whole thing. It's not just victims who are speaking out, there are also allegedly hundreds of witnesses that have been contacted by the feds to share what they saw at Diddy's parties.
Say is at one particular party, lots of big names. There was an artist there who said, hey, Lecrae, around 1 a.m., make sure you're not here. You just don't want to be here at 1 in the morning. Now, my pride kicked in like, yo, you don't know me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can handle myself. Like, I'm not some little church boy who ain't never seen nothing. Like, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what you talking about? Well, it's probably 12:30. I'm downstairs. I go downstairs to the studio. I come up out the studio. The music changed. It was like really hard and heavy at first. And then, you know, like, and on my way upstairs, there's like this couch. And on the couch, I saw a couple of guys really going at it hard and heavy. Man, and I was like, oh, as I started moving upstairs, I passed them up and I noticed that it wasn't just those two guys, it was more and more people just going at it. But at this particular party, Brandon T came up to me and he said, yo man, like Satan will steal your soul in this industry, bro. And he was really like, he's like, I love your soul and your spirit and I want you to thrive, Cray. I don't want you to get devoured out here. And I just appreciated that because for him, he was like, he has seen some detriments and some of the dark side of things. And he was like, yo, I want you to be taken care of.
This brings us to one of the most shocking parts of the case, the secret tapes. So Diddy had hidden cameras that were allegedly used to record everything that went down at his star-studded parties. According to insiders, these tapes were kept as blackmail material against anyone who might try to turn on Diddy. It's been speculated that some of these tapes feature high-profile celebrities, politicians, and powerful businessmen engaging in illegal and disturbing behavior. Get this, some of these tapes may have been confiscated by the FBI during a raid on one of Diddy's properties. If these tapes ever see the light of day, they could expose a whole network of crimes and destroy the careers of everyone involved. Sources say over 250 hidden cameras were found, along with stacks of hard drives filled with compromising footage. The speculation is that Diddy was running his own blackmail scheme, using these tapes to control the people around him and keep them in line. So, while everyone's been busy cracking jokes, making memes, and poking fun at Diddy's so-called freak-offs and those infamous 1,000 bottles of baby oil, there's nothing funny about what's really going on. What we're witnessing is a disturbing peek behind the curtain at just how dark this industry is. These powerful figures, the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes, will go to extreme lengths to satisfy their twisted desires, and Diddy might just be one of many pawns caught up in this mess. Now, here's where it really heats up. While Diddy's name is trending everywhere, it seems like there are much bigger players who are worried about what he could potentially reveal.
He sacrificing Diddy. They said, nigga, you gotta take this. We can't be involved. But Diddy's smart. He filmed every. So he was Clive and Freak Boy that run Universal Music Group. So he got them on some tapes. Now that's why they raiding the house, because they got friends in Homeland Security and the feds. And they said, get there and get them tapes from this nigga. He trying to blackmail us.
And get this, it's just come out that Diddy is currently on suicide watch at the Brooklyn jail where he's awaiting trial for his alleged involvement in this trafficking ring. According to the New York Post, his mental state is still unclear, but they're taking no chances and have placed him on watch as a preventative measure. This whole Diddy situation is already drawing comparisons to the notorious Jeffrey Epstein case. Remember how Epstein supposedly took his own life in his jail cell? Well, most folks aren't buying that story for a second. Epstein allegedly had dirt on everyone's celebrities, politicians, you name it. It's widely believed that he was running a shadowy blackmail operation, and some extremely powerful people were caught up in it. The way Epstein worked was to lure these high-profile figures to his twisted parties, get them mixed up with women below the age, and rumor has it, he recorded the whole thing. That footage was his ticket to blackmailing them for whatever he wanted. Before you start asking about motives, I can't really get into that. But if you take a deep dive into Epstein's background, his elite connections, and the role that his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell and her father played, you'll start to connect some dots. There are whispers about which foreign intelligence agency Epstein might have been linked to, so you can imagine how deep this rabbit hole goes.
And let's bring it back to that controversial plea deal, right, from Alex Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida at the time, who, as you know, resigned Friday. He said, even he himself said, I was told Epstein, quote, belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. So let me take you to Robert Steele, who's a former CIA and military intelligence officer. Okay. This is his statement. He says, I remain of the view that Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad clandestine operations officer, assisted by Mossad clandestine operations officer Ghislaine Maxwell, and that their mission is to do precisely what they have been doing, entrap U.S. politicians, judges, celebrities, prosecutors, and corporate leaders.
Now, let's dive back into the Diddy drama, because word on the street is that Diddy might have been pulling some of the same stunts as Epstein. Those so-called freak-offs weren't just your average wild parties, they might have been the front for a much deeper, more sinister blackmail operation. Rumor has it that Diddy was luring major names into these events, getting them caught up in some seriously shady situations, and then using that leverage to keep them under his thumb. Now, with all these shocking new details surfacing, the whole industry is in a state of panic. The big players are sweating bullets because if Diddy decides to spill the tea, It could unravel a whole web of powerful figures engaged in activities they definitely don't want the public to find out about. Plus, the fact that Diddy is currently on suicide watch is raising major red flags. People are already speculating that those higher-ups he may have been blackmailing could be planning to pull an Epstein on him, meaning they might do whatever it takes to keep him quiet. But here's the kicker. How do we really know if Diddy was running a blackmail operation? Well, technically we don't have concrete proof just yet. However, multiple industry insiders have been dropping plenty of clues and hints that paint a pretty clear picture of what those freak-off sessions were really all about. What's crazy is that it looks like people are already getting silenced left and right for trying to expose the high-profile folks who attended those freak-off parties. So there's this user on X going by at a major 420, and this person has been dropping hints about Diddy's parties long before Cassie kicked off her lawsuit back in November. This insider, who apparently has some ties to the music industry, has been hinting in his posts how he can't wait for the day when Diddy and his bigwig music executive bosses get called out. He's been saying that people have no idea just how dark the industry really is. So after Diddy's arrest, this user came back, posting a video where he claimed that when Diddy was starting his career, he threw one of his infamous parties and invited all the top executives in the industry. But here's where things take a seriously dark twist. Rumor has it that he laced their drinks with something that made everyone way too loose, and that party reportedly spiraled into something seriously nasty and depraved. But hold on, it gets even crazier. Diddy wasn't just there to party. The tea is that he allegedly recorded everything that went down that night and used those recordings to blackmail these powerful executives. According to that user on X, Diddy gained a ton of his early influence and power by holding that footage over their heads, using it as leverage to make some major moves in the industry. By the way, isn't it interesting how these same executives are suddenly acting clueless, like they've never even heard of Diddy?
Like they've never even heard of Diddy.
A lot of people are curious about the status of P. Diddy.
Status of what?
P. Diddy. Diddy.
Like puppy. The status of puppy.
What do you make of that situation? All right. No comment from Clyde Davis on P. Diddy. Mr. Davis, you're a major influence on the career of P. Diddy. Have you spoken to him since the federal raid? Have you spoken to Sean Combs? Any comment, Mr. Davis? Any comments about Diddy? He credits you as one of his mentors.
Now, are you ready for another bombshell? That user on X, who dropped the bombshell about Diddy blackmailing those executives. Well, his entire account just got wiped off the platform, and that video is now Mia from the internet. But even without that video, the whispers about Diddy's alleged blackmail parties have been circulating online for a while now. To give you just one example, there's this independent journalist named Ian Carroll, who has been out here spilling some serious tea. A few months back, he shared several videos diving into Diddy's rumored blackmail ring and the shady history behind blackmail operations in Hollywood. And listen, the rabbit hole here is deep. It's like the more you dig, the more twisted the story gets.
Understand this lawsuit against P. Diddy, you need to understand the history of blackmail. A lot of people in the comments are misunderstanding why rap music is so anti-gay. And a lot of people understand the ties of Israel and the Mossad to blackmail by Epstein, but a lot of people don't realize the ties of blackmail back to the invention of blackmail and the Jewish mob. So if you don't know what's going on, Diddy, one of the most influential people in the rap industry over the last 30 years, just got served this court case that alleged all kinds of crimes, including murder, and especially having all of his homes wired with cameras and hosting parties with girls, rappers, label executives, celebrities, politicians, and collecting blackmail on tons of important people. Like, we're talking Jeffrey Epstein level of operation, but in the music and entertainment industries.
So it's really starting to look like Diddy is just the tip of the iceberg, and there may be a whole network of powerful people involved in some seriously dark and twisted activities. And even if half of the rumors are true, the stories we've been hearing are just the beginning. Who knows how many victims are out there waiting to share their truth with all these new revelations? It's hard not to wonder just how deep this rabbit hole goes. It seems those so-called freak-offs weren't just wild parties, but carefully orchestrated events that allowed Diddy to gather dirt on some of the biggest names in the industry. And there are high-profile executives and powerful figures who may have been in on it. So if Diddy was using these parties as a means of blackmail, how many others were complicit? Could Diddy really be the next Epstein? That's a question that's been floating around since these allegations hit the mainstream. With Diddy's mounting allegations and him now being placed on watch, it's hard not to draw parallels. If Diddy has been running a similar operation, what does that mean for those involved? Are we about to see a massive shakeup in the industry? So with all this swirling around, let's hear your thoughts on this. Are we looking at Diddy as the next Epstein? Do you think he'll manage to expose those higher-ups he allegedly blackmailed, or will the secrets die with him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to stick around for this next video.